Welcome back to another edition of Hoop Scoop with the coach Doug Biega, and this is a special one. Not only are we talking a little March Madness, we're joined by the owner of Beaver County Auto, our good friend PJ Latsko. And PJ, we appreciate your support with Hoop Scoop, but also Pittsburgh Sports Live. Since we're on location here, for all our viewers, what good things do you got going on here in Chippewa?
First of all, we're glad to be part of this. We have all kinds of things going on. It's March. It's a great time to buy a car. It's 1,000 vehicles. I mean, you guys are here, so you can see we got way too many cars everywhere.
Need to get rid of them.
We need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of all of them. So if everybody wants to go on beavercountyauto.com, we have Sentras at $189, we have Rogues at $259, we have Ram trucks at $299. We get, depending on what vehicle you want, great deals on everything.
And I had somebody that saw you on TV last night on your TV commercial and said, you know what, we need to get that handsome guy on camera again. So that's why we're out here with Doug, and Doug's the basketball expert. Tomorrow starts March Madness. We know great majority of our audience does a bracket, so we figured it was time for you two to talk a little basketball and impose some wisdom on people on who they should pick starting tomorrow.
I don't know if wisdom is the right word, but we're going to give some advice. Before we get on to this, I just wanted to mention that I buy all my vehicles through PJ, and PJ and I are friends, and I do not buy my vehicles here because we are friends. PJ and I became friends once I started buying vehicles here because I see the way he treats people, I see the way he treats customers. This morning I woke up, turned on my car, check engine light came on. First time that ever happened in the 4 years that I've had the vehicle, the current Jeep that I have from PJ. I sent him a text, my car's getting looked at right now, on the spot while we're here. Customer service is ridiculous. That's why I continue to come here, not just because he's a great guy, but because they actually do right by their customers. But enough of that, enough of business.
This is going to be entertaining because I know very little about college basketball.
Well, very little. You know what? I don't know that expertise sometimes pays off in these things. So what we'll do is we'll each break out our brackets just so the viewers know. I picked the left side of the bracket. PJ picked the right. So I'll start off with my East. If you look in my East, obvious pick, I would think, the #1 overall seed with Duke. I don't think anyone's going to touch them anytime soon. Then you have the 8-9s, which are always a little bit hard. I went with Central Florida. I just think Taco Fall, the 7'6", is just a nightmare of a matchup. VCU is high pressure, but I like Central Florida to advance there. There's always a 12 that beats a 5, so why not Liberty? I picked Liberty over Mississippi State. This one gave me pause because of how often I've seen the Atlantic 10 this year. I really wanted to pick St. Louis with everything in me, but I also saw Virginia Tech come into Pitt and play exceptional defense, and they have a big man that's at a high level right now, so I have Virginia Tech advancing. I looked at last night, Belmont can really score the basketball, so I picked Belmont to upset Maryland. I picked LSU, even with all the turmoil that's going on there, I picked LSU to advance over the Ivy League champion Yale, who is an exceptionally good team. Would not be surprised if I'm wrong there. I went with the Patino factor in this one. The son against the school that let go of his dad. I picked Minnesota to advance over Louisville. And Bradley, I just don't think is going to have enough to beat what is a really peaking Michigan State team right now. That brings us to the second round, where I have Duke advancing over Central Florida. Like I said, it's going to take something special to beat Duke. I have Virginia Tech surviving Liberty. I think that's going to be closer than people think. I have LSU with just too much athleticism for Belmont. And I have Michigan State beating another Big Ten team in Minnesota. I wanted to pick against Michigan State, but not with Minnesota. It had to be someone outside the Big Ten, which I did in the next round. I have LSU advancing past Michigan State to meet Duke, who I have in this ACC matchup advancing, with Duke advancing to the Final Four. Off to you and your South.
Okay, I have Virginia up here just because they're ` They play really good defense, and my cousin graduated from Virginia. So I went with Ole Miss. I like the SEC. I haven't seen them play one time. Not a big fan of Oklahoma, so I'm going to go with Ole Miss. Went with Oregon over Wisconsin. Not a big Big Ten fan. Oregon has cool uniforms, right?
They got all.
They got them all. I went with Kansas State just because I probably thought Huggy was still at Kansas State. That's about how good I follow college basketball. Went with Villanova. They always come tournament time. They're going to give you a good effort. Purdue, I don't know too much about Old Dominion. Went with the Big Ten there. Cincinnati, Iowa was a toss-up to me. I went with Cincinnati. And Tennessee's been playing great basketball all year. Went with Tennessee. Over here to Virginia Ole Miss matchup, I went with Virginia. I think Virginia is going to be a very tough out just because of the defense that they play. Went with Oregon over Kansas State. I went with Purdue to beat Villanova. And I went with Tennessee. I think the SEC is just really good, really good. Every game I watch, they seem to play very competitive. Went with Tennessee over Purdue, and I have Virginia beating Oregon to get to the final game over here in the South, and I went with Virginia to get to the Final Four.
It's really good, man.
Not bad.
Really good. Really good. My job's in jeopardy.
I didn't even get into the colors of the uniforms and everything. I mean, let's go.
Ridiculously good. Let's go out west, man. The weather's good. The overall Gonzaga, I'm in love with this team. I kind of think this is their year, but I let him pick the champ. I picked Syracuse over Baylor. That zone's just a tricky thing to have to deal with in the postseason. This one's crazy. Murray State has maybe the second or third best player in the entire tournament. But Marquette is a really complete basketball team, so I went with Marquette. Florida State, Vermont, would not be surprised if Vermont upsets Florida State. But Florida State I saw in person as well. They are gigantic. I really like Florida State. Then Buffalo, I think, is an underrated team. Even though they're a 6th seed, I like Buffalo a great deal. Texas Tech limped into this tournament, having West Virginia thump them up pretty good in the Big 12 tournament. But I still have Texas Tech advancing. I have Florida, who I like. This is another one that's kind of a toss-up. Nevada or Florida. Nevada made that nice run last year, but I like the SEC as well. So I went with Florida, who had a really good SEC tournament. Probably was a bad call away from advancing past Auburn. And John Beilein is a phenomenal coach. I have him advancing there. We have Gonzaga facing Marquette. I have Texas Tech facing Michigan to get through this round here. I have Gonzaga struggling but advancing past the game Marquette team. And I have Texas Tech finding their way defensively to upset Michigan. Michigan started the year really well, and they have kind of had a slide towards the end. I like Texas Tech, their body of work is better than their most recent showing. And I have Gonzaga advancing to the Final Four, to your Midwest.
Texas Tech, Michigan, 2 really good coaches.
Elite.
Those teams are
elite,
well coached.
I agree totally.
Okay, in the Midwest, I got Carolina. Carolina to beat Iona. I think that was a pretty easy one. Washington over Utah State. Again, I know really nothing about those 2 teams. I know Washington's coach used to be at Syracuse, and I kind of
same zone. Yep.
He's got some good players out there. Auburn, I think, is one of the sleepers in the whole tournament. I could see them winning the whole thing after watching them the last couple weeks. I like their coach. Their coach seems to get fired up every game. I went with Kansas over Northeastern. I'm not a big Kansas fan, but I think they got a little too much for Northeastern. Iowa State against Ohio State. That was a toss-up to me. I went with the higher-ranked team. Houston, I watched them play over the weekend. They can score some hoops. I went with Seton Hall over Wofford. I really just a crapshoot. And I went with my Kentucky Wildcats. My niece and nephew both go to Kentucky, so that's why I'm going with Kentucky.
As good a reason as that.
I have Carolina beating Washington, and I have Auburn beating Kansas. I think this game right here could be the best game in the whole tournament. I really like the way both teams, it's action, the entire game. I went with Iowa State to beat Houston, and I went with the Wildcats to beat Seton Hall. I went with Auburn to upset North Carolina. This game could go either way to me.
Sure.
Either way. And I went with Kentucky to get to the finals of the Midwest, and I have Kentucky advancing all the way to the Final Four.
And in our Final Four, you could see that I have Gonzaga beating Duke, PJ has Kentucky outlasting Virginia, and for the reasons he already stated, family reasons, a little bit of nepotism, he has the Wildcats and Coach Calipari cutting down the nets. Now, if you're looking for some upsets, the upsets I saw were down here in the Midwest. I can see a team like Houston going all the way to this Final Four. I could see a team like Seton Hall making noise. Seton Hall already has a win against Kentucky this year. I could see them advancing, and I also love Auburn, but New Mexico State is a 30-win team. They know how to win, and they could advance if you're looking for just something to throw some crazy odds out there or to try to have a little bit of a different type of bracket. That's all we got. Take it for what it's worth. You're talking to two guys that know very little about this stuff, but I
know a lot more than me.
I guess we know as much as anybody, so good luck to everybody filling out your brackets, and enjoy March Madness. It really is a special time of the year, and if you're looking for a car, don't look any further than my guy.
No doubt about that. Come out to Beaver County Auto and check out PJ and tell him you heard about it on Pittsburgh Sports Now. And Doug will be back next week for another edition of your show, and you're going to break down some of the top Division I talent in Western Pennsylvania and give a little scouting report on that. So check out that next week on Pittsburgh Sports Now.
Looking forward to it. Enjoy.
Thank you.